Are you going to be getting up anytime soon? Huh? Shall I go and make the breakfast? Are you just a lazy wee minx? Oh, I hear ya. Go away, Mum, and leave me alone. I'm having to sleep in this morning. Shall I go and put the coffee on? Huh? It's easy to know who rules the roost in this house, anyway. That's for sure. Oh, is she stirring? She's stirring. She says, I just might get up now. And there's the reason. You see, Patsy knows better than me. I've just pulled back the curtains and there's snow outside. It's a bit on the cold side, I'd say. So lighting the stove this morning was the most important part of my morning work to do because it is bitterly cold out there. And although the snow is kind of thawing, you know, it's falling and thawing, I think it's the wetness that surrounds it that makes it even colder. So last night, just about there, I put out a heap of food for the fox. Now, it was mainly dog biscuits because that's all I had. But this morning, I went out with Patsy and there wasn't a scrap left. So, I think it's within my Irish nature not to tolerate any kind of starvation or hunger. You know, following on from the Great Famine of 1847. That indeed, many of you in America, in the United States of America, can trace your roots back to, because the emigration was incredibly high, you know, millions emigrated. Anyway, I prepared my bed yesterday. Let me just show you. I don't know if any of you remember this blanket that I knitted. Yeah, I'm sure some of you do. Look, it's my lovely woolly blanket. So I made sure that went on top of the duvet, and then this lovely, but quite old now, Irish woolen blanket was placed on the top, because not only does it look warm, it is warm, beautifully warm, and have my hot water bottle as well. And I made a point of putting these window boxes, they're woven window boxes, out on both this windowsill and the kitchen windowsill, because I really need to look at something promising and bright and full of life over the next couple of quite cold and dark months. And this is the other one in the kitchen window. Doesn't it look lovely? I mean, something as small and easy to create as a window box. It just lifts everything, doesn't it? And there's the kettle singing on the stove. Yeah, singing. And I'll just zoom in towards Kilronan Mountain because you can see there's patches of snow, but a very kind of a wet mist up there. Cold, very cold. It's unmistakably winter. Just when you look out and see the bare trees and the sun, which is very low in the sky and is now hitting the top of Kilronan Mountain. So it becomes really illuminated and unearthly looking. Of course, the mountains in Ireland are famous for where the Sidhe live, the fairy folk. I remember the coldest winter in almost 300 years. I lived through it. It was in 1963 and I was 8 years old. And it was the coldest recorded since 1740. And the temperatures consistently reached lower than minus 20 degrees centigrade, with blizzards and snowdrifts, and even the sea freezing around Ireland. We lived in a 2-bedroomed house with an outside toilet and no bathroom, no central heating, just a big stove in the kitchen. My memories from that time, because I was a child, are really beautiful. Children don't seem to feel the cold. The snow and the ice was thick, and we made little sleighs out of old pieces of cardboard. We lived on a hill called Gallows Hill. Yeah, it was a very, very poor area. And from what I remember, the severe cold began just before Christmas in 1962. So I would have actually been 7. And according to what I've read since, there was a high pressure system which sat to the northeast of the United Kingdom for much of the winter. And so all the polar winds were all dragged down. It was something else, it really was. And then, just after the Christmas, a blizzard struck the UK. Now, although I lived in Ireland, I'm referring to the UK because I lived in Northern Ireland. And it was amazing. I mean, it really was a case of life and death, life or death, for many, many people. So that's my memories of winter. Yeah. So surviving winter, getting through winter and making the most of winter, especially living here now in the west of Ireland, where we have the Gulf Stream and the climate is a little gentler. It's still all about keeping warm. And more importantly here in Ireland, keeping dry. Yeah, because it's quite a wet climate. So being very active outdoors is important. And I love being outdoors. It would take a blizzard to keep me in the cottage. So I'm forever working, and especially this time of the year, it is perfect for pruning and cutting back and hard pruning apple trees. And I've got about 38 of them, well, fruit trees in total. And I haven't pruned them properly in a long time. So just getting on with things is important. And here you can see I've been pruning back the laurel. Now, a lot of people shame laurel and shame people for planting it. But let me say, look at these beautiful poles here. That's hardwood. That's laurel. Perfect for making garden structures. And despite what people say, It is good for burning and it doesn't harm the environment. There's been no proof that it does. So, yeah, it's just a lovely time of year. It's quite perfect. A perfect time for working. And you know what they say about sawing wood for the stove? It warms you twice. Once in the sawing and again in the burning. For those of you who don't know about Bealtaine Cottage, this was the cottage on the first day that I saw it, 20 years ago in 2004. And my delight has been doing it up over a long course of time, 20 years. I'm still in that process. But planting a woodland around it has brought me great joy. And I'm quite sure has brought Mother Earth great joy as well. It's a wonderful place to live now, and it just shows you the transformation that can be done in 20 years. I don't know what's stopping all the politicians, really.